Hi, I'm Kerry Blaser, Mary Magdalene's soul. I found a great video that is Jesus's 10 most forgotten teachings. So I thought we could, I'll play it and I'll respond to it, and we could all learn about the early teachings of Christianity that were suppressed. So we're going to talk about that Jesus taught that not for worship, but for awakening. He didn't want to be worshipped. He was a model of how to awaken. He's a model, that's all. And then heaven is not a place, but a frequency inside of your heart, inside of your soul. So we collectively create heaven on earth. That's why I say self-love creates heaven on earth, and we create it together. And sin, or a wound, as I call it, it's not a stain, but amnesia, forgetting how powerful you are, that we're all divine, we're all souls having a human experience, and we all have that divine spark inside of us that only we can ignite. The only person blocking our ascent is ourselves. Like you've heard, the only person who can create problems for you is you. If you really boil it down, you're the only one that can get in your way. Same concept. Then he also knew, because Jesus is from Nazareth, and right next to Nazareth is the whole Druze village. Well, the Druze religion, they always believed in reincarnation. And the Nazarene, they are very much, their religion is most into marriage and family. So, so he knew that the soul is it's an endless journey of reincarnation. We learn lessons in one lifetime, then we come back another lifetime, another lifetime, another lifetime. You know, and then they get into why Christianity preaches one lifetime and the control involved. And then we're going to talk about Mary Magdalene and Jesus' closest disciple. Okay, and then I'll link the video below. So why don't we go ahead and get started?
They got you. You'll think Jesus came to start Christianity. They got you. If you think the Gospels are all in the Bible, they got you twice.
Right.
The truth?
Only 4 of the 21 Gospels were in the Bible. And when that all happened, because there was a whole, in the 2nd century, they wanted to have more imperial rule. And so there's a lot of different sects of Christianity that people could not control. And so they started to unify the sects under a masculine God, and erasing the worldview that was held at that time, that balance, like, you know, the universe has masculine and feminine. Masculine is gnosis, inner knowing. Feminine is Sophia, inner wisdom. Just like universal truths have universal knowledge and universal wisdom, same concept. Okay.
Jesus taught a hidden path, buried, banned, and burned by empire. He didn't say, worship me. He said, become what I am. In the Gnostic Gospels, the forbidden scriptures reveal exactly what that meant. You weren't supposed to find this video, but if you did, that means you're finally ready. Because once you hear these 10 hidden teachings,
when you find that when things come into your life, it means you're at the right frequency. That's how we attract things into our life, based on the laws of physics.
You won't see Jesus the same ever again. And maybe you won't see yourself the same either.
Our souls are divine. So we don't need church to access divinity. We need to access our hearts, our souls, because they're all divine. We're all souls having a human experience. We are all divine beings with access to create heaven on earth when we learn how to love ourselves properly.
If everything you were told about Jesus was reversed, would you have the courage to look again? Because what if the Jesus of religion was not the Jesus of truth? What if the church crowned him king to hide the fact he came to awaken kings?
Right. We'll just make him the king as opposed to have his teachings. It's all surface level. It's all control.
We were told he came to save us, but what if he came to remind us to say?
Right. That's why I say no one's coming to save you. He is not coming to save you. No one is coming to save you. You have to save yourself through accessing your heart and your own self-love. By appreciating, being grateful, opening your heart, self-reflecting, forgiving, being compassionate, understanding, not reacting to everything.
Say, you are not fallen. You are not broken. You've just forgotten. You've forgotten the light you were made from, the kingdom you carry.
You've forgotten that you're divine. That is the only problem we have, is we've forgotten that we're divine. And that's on purpose so that we can learn. We can understand ourselves and explore ourselves. You know, we can't just incarnate as fully functioning divine beings because the human body can't handle that high vibrating frequency. So the soul has to come in balance with the body. And that's why slowly but surely you turn self-love, self-hate into self-love. Turn your wounds into wisdom. That's healing.
The fire that once burned in your soul. And this was the real gospel, the one they buried beneath gold, guilt, and fear. Not a gospel of sin and shame, but of divine memory. When Jesus said, "I and the Father are one," he wasn't claiming cosmic superiority. He was handing you a mirror.
He was saying his soul is a microcosm of the macrocosm that people call the Father. Okay, and then there's a Father and then the Mother. And he says he and the Father are one. He and the divine masculine are one. I'm divine feminine, but you know, women and divine feminine are one. Now, this is my understanding today. On earth, Jesus' soul, Jason Colvin's soul, JC's soul, is the lead masculine soul on the planet. And that my feminine soul is the lead feminine soul on the planet. That's my understanding. You know, I'm just trying to figure things out.
These things I do, you will do also, and greater. But ask yourself, when was the last time a church reminded you of that? They couldn't. Because if you knew what you truly are, you'd stop kneeling. You'd start rising.
Right. Churches want you to kneel before Jesus. That's not what he taught. We're all divine beings, so why should I kneel before anybody? Of course, show respect, but he's not better than anybody. I mean, I'm the lead because I'm the most spiritually advanced. Like, I've done the work, you know, and this has been millions. Like, how long is it? I don't know. I don't friggin' know. I'm just like, I was born, I didn't know, and I'm figuring it out, right? Like, as a child, I'm very intuitive, so I'm sure I said things, and then people had to shut me up because it wasn't time. And I got hit, and I got silenced. For 35 years, I was silenced. And then my voice came back in 2021, and there's the only prophecy about the return of Mary Magdalene is she comes back in 2021. And I didn't know that at the time, but my voice came back on December 30th, 2020. And then the next year I started hearing intuitively that I'm on the Jesus Council. I'm like, I don't go to church. What do you mean I'm on the Jesus Council? What do you mean? What are you talking about? Didn't know. Unaware, unconscious. You know, I'm not a sinner. I'm just unawakened.
And this is the first forbidden teaching. Jesus didn't come to be worshipped. He came to awaken what religion tried to put to sleep. He didn't want disciples who bowed. He wanted mirrors that remembered. Because here's the sacred riddle. He wasn't just pointing to God. He was revealing what God looks like inside a human.
God is inside a human, so why do I need the church? Why do I need to pay money? Why do I have to, do all of these rituals? He got rid of rituals. Don't need rituals. I don't know which gospel it is, but he got rid of all the animals in the temple because they were doing ritual sacrifice. He's like, no, this is not acceptable. This is not how we treat animals. They are free. Thank you.
And if you've ever wondered why his message was so dangerous, it's because it shattered the middlemen. No more priests, no more rituals, no more gates between you and the divine. Only this. Go within. Still the mind. And remember, the power always fears the awakened. So
right. Power feels awakened because you've risen, you'll stand up, you know your value. People who will kneel before things do not understand their value because they're asleep. They are not awakened. So the awakened ones, those are the ones that stand up. Those are the ones that fight for the cause. Those are the ones that have change. So it's hard.
Rome took the key and forged a lock. They took the map and sold a maze. They took the truth and turned it into a throne and told you that God was out there, distant, angry, watching. But Jesus said something.
Angry? The universe is angry at us? Like what? There's no punishment here because we're at school. We're learning. We hold space for people's wounds. We hold space. If someone needs to murder someone to see themselves and that other soul needs to get murdered to see themselves because there's multiple lifetimes, then we hold space for that. Like we hold space for, rape so that we can see ourselves. We hold space for LGBTQ so that we can see ourselves, but that is not in divine alignment. Why? They can't procreate. And this, we have like 6 biological imperatives that align with the laws of the universe. You know, the first is survival, second is procreation. So, and then, you know, alignment is masculine and feminine. You know, and oh, well, a man can be feminine. Then he's out of hormonal balance. And he's a man. So why is a man feminine? Yes, he has a little, certain men will have more femininity than others. Certain men are more creative than others. And there's a range. But he's still a man who's attracted to women. Not that, I mean, so if someone's, no, okay, great, that's fine. That's a wound. Your soul's working through it. You're in a relationship, you're happy, great, okay. I'm not saying you should be punished. There's no punishment. It's a school. They'll learn their lesson. They'll learn and see themselves as they need to see themselves. So he holds space for that.
Something scandalous. The kingdom of God is within you. Do you see it? He didn't come to start a religion. He came to end the illusion of separation.
Yeah. Church is all about separation and control. But if people know that divinity is within, that heaven is within, why go to church? Why?
So if he didn't come for worship, but for remembrance, then who are you really? And if the same divine breath that lived in him is still breathing through you, why do you feel so far away from it? Could it be that they buried the truth not in a tomb, but inside you? This is just the beginning, because in chapter 2, we go deeper into the teaching they feared the most. That heaven was never a destination. It was a frequency, a consciousness, a code, and when you learn how to enter it from within, you'll realize you were never locked out. You were the gate all along. Let's unlock it.
Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, talking to JC's soul, I'm like, so I got to go out there and tell them that heaven's not coming, that we got to create it together on earth, that we have to do the work. But what's the work? We need rupture and repair. That's the feminine. The rupture is the emotional, you know, like Charlie Kirk. We had a rupture and now we're in repair. That's what I'm talking about. So when we talk about the rapture and all these, you know, events are coming, you know, on Mother Earth, feminine, right? And I live right on the Pacific Rim in Ventura, California. I'm like, why do I live here? Everything happens for a reason. That's why. Okay, like this morning, I saw myself as Sophia, divine wisdom. 1 minute later, lightning, thunder, pouring rain. That's rare in Ventura. And my soul woke me up at 1 a.m. so I could talk to JC's soul and I could see myself as a mirror of what's coming. And that's not the only time that's happened. So when I was facing my fear of being raped with JC, because we have childhood trauma together, significant childhood trauma together, at the peak moment, when like he peaked his frustration and I peaked and I was like protecting me, protecting my daughters. I'm like, I can do this, right? All the electricity in Ventura went out that exact moment. I was like, oh shit, okay, what's happening? You know, but this is how I see myself. What is my power? What is my role here on the planet? Everyone has a role, everyone has a job. We're a collective of souls inhabiting earth, creating heaven on earth together. Isn't that beautiful that we're doing this together as a collective of souls and not just, oh, we're just waiting for our savior. Okay, he's going to do it all. He has all the work and we just wait. No. You want to get out of oppressor, oppressee, victim mindset. Here's where you can start.
They said you go to heaven after you die. But what if the greatest lie was that heaven was somewhere else? What if you didn't go to heaven? What if you become it? Because Jesus never said, the kingdom of heaven will appear when you die. He said, the kingdom of heaven is within you. This wasn't metaphor. It was mechanics. It was the code behind reality. Heaven isn't later, it's now. Not a faraway cloud kingdom, but a dimension hidden in your very breath.
So let me explain how this works. So our souls have energy bodies. Well, our souls are energy bodies. So energy bodies vibrate at different frequencies. Okay, so heaven, as he's saying, is a frequency. But there's, if you want to look up the map of consciousness, it explains all of the different emotions. So our souls express ourselves through emotion. Like shame is 20 hertz, anger is like 70 hertz, love is 200 hertz, compassion is 400 hertz, and enlightenment and emotion is 700 to 1,000 hertz. So when you learn how to surf the waves of life, basically, and go into your pain and up and out of your pain, that is how you transform your soul into a higher vibrating soul, creating heaven on earth. Now, how do you help others? The more you increase your vibration, you just naturally help everybody. So if there's like a metrodome experiment, and there's 5 metrodomes, and 2 are going super fast, highest vibrating energy, like enlightenment. Imagine those 2 are enlightenment, and one's over here. Within a minute, all 5 of them are going the same speed. So by my plethora of enlightenment experiences of the past year and a half, I've helped prepare myself and help prepare all other souls to be in better alignment and to rise. Like we saw after Charlie Kirk, this is my job. I'm not responsible for everybody, but I'm adding a ton of fuel to the fire of the awakening that's happening on earth. That's my job.
Heaven is a state of alignment, a remembrance of origin, a frequency of divine union pulsing within the soul. And the door was never in the sky. It's beneath your ribs.
Right here in your heart.
It was in your spine, through your breath, in your silence, in the still space between thoughts. This is the work, to tune the instrument of the self until it resonates with the home frequency you never truly left.
Yeah, the Gospels that were hidden, and like the Gospel of Thomas, he admits it's an operation guide for the soul. How do we operate our souls? We're just trying to figure it out. Like, we don't even know what men and women are. Not everybody agrees what a man and a woman is. So we can't be that evolved if not everybody knows what a man and a woman is. Like, let's just be real, right? We have a lot of work to do as a collective together, but we're a family. So we're putting in work in the family, and we don't cut anybody out. Just because I'm not talking to a child for a couple months doesn't mean they're not cut out. It means we both need some space because we've been through a lot. So,
But this terrified the empire, because if you realized heaven wasn't a reward, but a revelation, if you knew you could enter at any time without permission, priest, or payment, you'd never again submit to someone else's keys, and you'd stop begging for paradise and start radiating it. Heaven was never the prize. It was the power, a field of luminous intelligence, a vibration your soul already knows, a kingdom whose gate opens the moment you remember who you are. But they rewrote the story.
Just remember, you're a soul. You're divine. No one can take that from you, but you're the only one that can repress it, and you're the only one that can open it. Okay?
They said heaven was distant, that you must earn it, that you are too dirty, too unworthy, too human to hold it. So they built cathedrals outside to make you forget the cathedral within. But here's the second forbidden teaching. Heaven is not where you go. Heaven is what awakens when you stop searching. It's not a reward for the good. It's a mirror for the awake. It begins the moment the war in you ends. The moment you stop believing the lie.
The lie that you're separate from God. The lie that you're a bad person, that you're a sinner. No, you have wounds. Our souls plan our lives based on our wounds for self-improvement opportunities. Like there's a physics experiment, like 2 balls, okay? And this explains why we need to learn to surf the waves of life. So there's 2 balls, equal size, equal weight, same. One goes slightly downhill, and one has hills and valleys, so the distance traveled is technically longer, but the distance of the track is the same. Which ball wins? The one on the hills and valleys. Why? When you go down into your deeper emotions, the more denser emotions like shame, guilt, and fear, you pick up momentum, speed, and propulsion to come out and go back to the next mountaintop. But how do you learn to surf? You don't start in the 70-foot wave off of Portugal. You don't start climbing mountains by going from Mount Everest. No, you start with a little wave, and you go a little in, a little out, a little in. Like that's what I started 10 years ago because I wasn't taught as a child. Childhood trauma is basically no one teaches you how to process your emotions, and everything's your fault or someone else's fault. There's a lot of shame, guilt, and fear, and that's childhood trauma. But in the more mountains and valleys that you have, the faster the ball goes. Like my mountains, valleys, like now, because I can handle it. I've experienced enlightenment several times, so I'm constantly in those higher vibrating emotions, and that has rewired my nervous system to be much more robust so I can be in those higher vibrating emotions. But how does that help everybody else? It helps me, but helps everybody else because every time I experience enlightenment, which is every day sometimes, then I naturally connect to all other souls and download and help them unveil the wisdom inside of their own soul. So it's supportive of the collective, but I'm not telling them what to do. You know, people say, well, if you think, Kerry, you're going to, like, I didn't think anything. I opened my heart, I unveiled wisdom, and then I aligned with it. There was no thinking, because the soul has inherent logic in it. Like 1 + 1 = 2. There's masculine, there's feminine, and then you create a baby. That, 1 + 1 = 3. 1 + 1, and they get together, and then they can make a third. But you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a way of things. And people want to blame the church for it, but there's a way of things. There just is. There has to be. It's not just chaos. Just chaos, that we need structure and we need chaos for balance. We're after balance, not control. Okay?
You are separate from God.
You're not.
And this is why Jesus
You are
spoke in
divine.
parables, because heaven couldn't be explained, only experienced. It's the pearl of great price.
Yeah, in parables and metaphors, like Adam and Eve. Eve was born of Adam's rib? Like, no. He had her there next to his heart, and his love was born of his heart. But they used the word rib as a metaphor. Jesus walked on water? No, he was capable of doing things that others couldn't because he believed in himself. Okay, like, let's all be realistic here. Maybe in I don't know when we're going to be able to levitate and all those other kinds of, I don't know. But let's just be more realistic about and not make him a god, because it doesn't serve anybody. It doesn't help anybody else awaken. It just makes us subservient to another soul who isn't out there solving our problems because he can't. It's not how it works. I can only heal me. He can only heal him. And I'll show you how it works right now. If there's 10 people and I call them all stupid, how many get mad? 2, 3, 5? Not everyone. Why? Because we all internalize things. We either internalize it or we don't. The ones that internalize it as self-hate. Now, if I give a compliment to 10 people, certain people will receive it and certain people won't. Why? Because only if they receive what I give can they internalize self-love or self-hate. But that's all inside of themselves. I'm projecting a mirror. They can accept it or not. If they accept it, then they hate themselves. If it's self-hate. If I project stupid, are you stupid? Ooh, okay, that's self-hate. Oh, you're beautiful. That's self-hate. Oh, you're beautiful. Oh, that's self-love. Okay? So I'm not in charge. The other soul has a plan, and they will receive information, receive a frequency or not based on their soul's plan. I have no control over that. Zero, zilch.
The treasure hidden in the field. The feast prepared, but ignored by the world. So let me ask you, have you ever touched it? In stillness, in beauty, in tears that made no sense? Didn't something in you know that you had never left? That the garden was still there? That all this time, you had been knocking on your own door? Heaven is not later. It's now. It's here. It's what you return to when you leave the noise behind. So let them keep selling the sky. You came to bring heaven here. But if heaven is already within you, what's keeping you locked out? If you still carry guilt from a story written before you were born, then they succeeded. Because the oldest lie ever told was that you are broken. But what if sin was never a stain, but a forgetting? What if the soul wasn't damned? It was just doused in amnesia.
It was wounded. It was suppressed. Like when I carried emotional pain, I was super isolated because I just rejected myself. I rejected my divinity. So I was alone. And when I accepted my divinity, I realized I was never alone. So it was only my perception of aloneness. Okay? It wasn't real alone. Because all the other souls are constantly around me. When someone passes away, the soul remains in this area. We just don't see it. We're just not our soul hasn't attuned to that frequency because that's not part of your soul's path. Like, I don't see souls, but other people do. I mean, I do at times, but generally I turn that off because it's just too much. It's too much incoming information for me because I'm in a human body now. It's just too much. So I don't need to see it. Just talk to me.
And Jesus didn't come to fix you. He came to remind you. You were never...
Jesus didn't come to fix you. I am not here to fix you. I'm a model of how it works. That's why I wrote the book. But I wrote the book before I realized I'm Mary Magdalene's soul. So I mentioned Jesus once in the book in I think with the first hero. But the book is not about Mary Magdalene. It's about how I healed from my emotional pain and how I experienced enlightenment several times last year in 2024.
Born fallen. You were born radiant, and then taught to look away from your own light. You were taught to bow before altars, but never to light the one inside your ribcage. Because here's what they'll never say in a sermon. Sin is not the truth of who you are. It's the bruise left by forgetting who you were. They told you the fall began with Eve, but what if it wasn't a fall? It was the first act of remembering. What if the serpent wasn't evil, but a symbol of awakening? What if Eve didn't commit the first sin, but opened the first eye? Because the fruit wasn't cursed, it was consciousness, and consciousness has always threatened control. Pause. Close your eyes, not to repent, but to remember. Do you feel it? That flicker behind your ribs? That is not shame, that is returning. What if the shadows you feared were simply the light you haven't turned toward? What if this entire time, you weren't here to be saved, but to remember why you came?
Yeah, you're not here to be saved. No one's coming to save you, right? You're here to find your soul's purpose. I found mine. I know my calling. I'm here. Like firefighters, it's a calling. You know, firefighters are always on duty technically. Because if there's a fire wherever they are, they're immediately a firefighter. So technically they're always on duty, and that's exhausting. But that's their calling, because that's what they need to see themselves, to have opportunities for self-growth. You know, so that's why that's why our souls plan our lives based on our wounds. Because the amount of wounds you take on equates with the amount of wisdom you will gain in that lifetime. So more wounds equals more wisdom. So I attempted suicide 6 years ago. And I'm Mary Magdalene's soul. That is how awful it has been on earth with the feminine repressed. I mean, feminism just encouraged women to become men and leave the family. But that's how women felt. That's how upset we've been with the repression of the feminine that started in the 2nd century when people started deciding that the Christian God is masculine and women can't teach, to align everyone under an imperial authority. And that's brought a lot of imbalance in the masculine and the feminine. They repressed Sophia. They repressed her. But she's back. Yay.
Because somewhere in your being, you've carried echoes, memories you can't explain, longings that don't belong to this lifetime. And the moment you ask why, you begin to remember where you've been. But if you've lived before, where have you been? And more importantly, why did you return now? Here's a truth the church edited out with surgical precision. Jesus knew you've lived before. He spoke of Elijah returning.
Right. So Jesus is from Nazareth. And right next to Nazareth are the Druze. Well, the Druze, it's a small population. And the reason I know, my ex-husband is Israeli. And so I've lived in Israel. I've been there 8 times. My 3 kids are half Israeli. So I have some knowledge about Israel. And so the Druze are right next to Nazareth, where, Jesus of Nazareth. And so the Druze believed in reincarnation. So that awareness was in that area 2,000 years ago. Proof by other ethnic groups, other religions, ethnic groups. Their DNA is slightly different. Yeah. So.
He asked, "Who do you say I am?" Not because he needed to know, but because you once did. The early Gnostics knew. The desert mystics whispered it. The soul doesn't visit Earth just once. It circles, it learns, it remembers. They turned the gospel into a single life fear trap. But Jesus was a mystic of the soul's long spiral. He taught that life is a school, and the body is a robe you change. So why hide it? Because a soul who knows it has lived before, and will live again, cannot be threatened by a single death.
Right. You know you're a divine being. Oh, you're going to kill? I'm not afraid of death. I'm not afraid of death. I'm not. It might hurt, but I'm not afraid. Because I'm coming right back. I don't see that happening for me, because I know I need to be here right now to help everyone understand the wisdom that I brought through in my enlightenment experiences about that we need to recognize that the universe is a balance between divine masculine and divine feminine, and there is not a singular masculine God. That brings us into imbalance and created what people call the patriarchy, where the feminine is repressed and the masculine is overexpressed. Okay, where he takes credit for creation. Oh, you got a womb up there, motherfucker? What the hell? Yeah, and people get upset that I curse. But when you take cursing away from women, you take speech away from women. And when I move energy, I need to say a word exactly how it needs to be said. So I move the energy exactly how it needs to be moved so people will heal. So yeah, I get to curse. You want to complain about it? Come knock on my door. You can find my address.
And a soul that cannot be threatened, cannot be controlled. Reincarnation wasn't heresy to early Christians. It was normal. And the journey didn't begin at birth, nor does it end at death. It continues until the light within is fully remembered. You are not one lifetime old. You are a library wearing skin. And your presence here right now is no accident. You're remembering because it's time. You didn't click this by chance. You came here with timelines behind you and something to reclaim. But if your soul chose this moment, what is it you came to reclaim? And if Mary remembered it too, why was her gospel buried?
Mary.
Now let's tear down another pillar. If Peter was the rock of the church, Mary was the living water of truth. She wasn't a prostitute. She was the initiated, the one who understood Jesus, not just externally, but internally.
And why does she understand him internally? I'm going to quote a Cherokee proverb, because when something's true, it's true in multiple places. It says, a woman's highest calling is to connect a man to his soul so he can unite with source energy. A man's highest calling is to protect a woman so she can walk the earth unharmed. Internal work is feminine work. The church takes responsibility for internal work. Like forgiveness, compassion, nurturing, intuition, creativity, that's all right brain, that's feminine. You see what I'm saying? They repressed the feminine and then took it and then monetized it and controlled it. And so she was repressed, but we weren't ready. But why are we ready now? You might be asking. We're ready now because now is the time of self-healing. Now we're in the energy of self-healing, which is interesting. I know that because the Mayan calendar, that time cycle ended in 2012. So this is now the time of self-healing. But oh, Jesus is coming to save us. See, that doesn't resonate. I know that no one's coming to save anybody. That's not how it works. Like when the tsunami happened, who saved the people? Other people, because we are all divine beings. We are all capable of what Jesus has done. Jesus' soul has done, what my soul has done, you know?
And that terrified the early leaders because her gospel, the gospel of Mary, didn't teach obedience. It taught gnosis, inner knowing, direct revelation.
Direct revelation. I don't need the church there to go to, show me and block me. And it's just like, get out of my heart. I only need, you know what I'm saying? Like, get out of the control over my heart and soul. Like, no.
Middleman required. She called him the one who lives. He called her the woman who knows. She wasn't just a woman. She was the keeper of the lost thread, the one who carried the serpent's knowing in the womb of the first memory. But power structures couldn't allow the sacred feminine to speak with equal light, so they buried her under lies, but not deeply enough, because now her voice is rising again, not from pulpits, but from within you. And if you felt a call to divine wisdom that transcends religion, that doesn't demand belief, but invites remembrance, it might be her echo,
stirring. So on July 16th, 2025, Charlie Kirk said, Mary is the solution to toxic feminism. And that shocked everybody because he was an evangelical, and so they don't really look to the women in the church, right? What I found out about a week ago is that I looked up my emails. That same day is the day I emailed Red Pill Leadership all of the signs and synchronicities that my soul is the same soul as Mary Magdalene. Now, in my book, you see that I've helped people like Andrew Tate, Justin Waller, Fire Academy instructors. So when I sent out the email, I said, is Andrew an apostle? And I asked them, if I make Andrew an apostle, I'm teasing them. But there was an apostle named Andrew, and he talks a lot.
Stirring, awakening through your bones. This is more than a checkpoint. It's a veil. And if you've crossed it, like this video to light the way for the others still wandering. Comment.
And I'm just like, the veil, it just reminded me of something. So in the fall, because like Halloween, the veil between the spiritual world and the physical world is the thinnest. So this is the time for rupture and repair. Like forgiveness in Judaism, the Day of Atonement, is coming up, because it's it's easier to process our wounds in this time when the veil is the thinnest.
She is rising, not for us, but to activate the echo in the field. Subscribe not for more content, but as a vow that you...
I activate the echo in the field of every enlightenment experience. When a soul experiences enlightenment, it activates attractor energy cells in the soul, which then communicates with all other souls. Pretty amazing, right? You can look that up on Map of Consciousness.
You will no longer forget. You are not just curious, you are called. Now let's keep going, because what comes next changes everything. But if Mary remembered who she was, why do you still feel so far from it? Maybe because something ancient has been hiding it from you, and it's not a devil. It's something far more subtle and far more dangerous. What if...
So the video goes on, and I'll link it in the description below. But I just thought they did an amazing job at showing the difference between Jesus's teachings and what happened when the church was established in the Council of Nicaea. You know, it started in like 2nd century. Council of Nicaea was 4th century. So, you know, it took time, you know. So, but anyway, I hope you found that helpful. I hope you open your heart to your own divinity. It doesn't mean you can't go to church. Just know that you are divine without church, okay? You are divine in and of yourself, and that's beautiful. Thank you. Please like and subscribe, and I'll be back later with another video. Okay, bye.